Hello, welcome back to another video tutorial here at Geekatplay Studios. My name is Gary Miller, and I've got a fun project today that is really going to incorporate and bring together all the elements of the Hexagon tutorials that I've been doing over the last couple months. Not only will it cover the portions of Hexagon as far as UV laying out your UV maps, but also goes into a little bit more on practically manipulating them for a practical reason, and some little modeling tricks that I learned by doing this project that I never knew before but had to experiment with many times until I got the program to do what I wanted it to do. In addition to that, we're going to drag our UV maps over into Photoshop and create our textures from scratch to apply to this. So this really is going to be a start to finish tutorial creating this novel or this book, which by necessity requires it to be of great length and of several segments, but each segment will be no more than 20 minutes. So this is the book that I created that we're going to go out and create today. So let me start with a new file. Okay, so with a new file, I'm going to create a cube. And it doesn't matter the size. And I'm just going to scale it down according to the dimensions I think would be appropriate for a book. I'd say that looks good. Alright. Now what I need to do is zoom in a little bit, come over here to Vertex Modeling and choose my tessellation by slice. Now I'm going to hold down Shift key, which will lock this thing into this center edge between the two nearest points. And I'm just going to click, and that creates a nice slice all the way through my model. I'm going to release Shift and come up here, do the same down here, and I'm just going to keep repeating this process throughout this whole edge here, and just making all these cuts through the cube. There we are. I didn't count how many there were, but if you just follow along and do the same thing I did, it'll be fine. All right, I'm going to select this center edge and I'm going to loop it. Now I'm going to come over here to Soft Selection, and what I want to do is select a nice soft radius. Let me see what this one looks like. Essentially what I'm going to do is just move it over using that soft selection and creating a nice profile to it. And that looks good. And now I'm going to spin around this side and do the same thing here, trying to duplicate the profile on this side to be identical with the profile on that side. And it could come in a little bit more, I think. I'd say that looks good. Validate that. Uncheck soft selection. Okay, I'm going to click on Select Faces, and I'm going to select the top and all the faces here for the binding and the bottom. And I'm going to click on Extract. Now I've got two separate pieces. I'm going to select my first one here, name it Pages, and lock it, because we are done with that. Actually, no, we're not done with it. What was I thinking? We need to... Oh, I'll leave it for now. Now we need to adjust the size of the book cover. And I'm just going to use the universal all-axis scaling function and scale it up, scale it out, and that looks good. I'm going to come over here to Surface Modeling and click on Thickness. I'm going to switch to a wireframe mode. Now you would probably think I would want to use an inside thickness setting, but if I do, you run into the problem here of these faces colliding with one another, and the edges start bumping into one another. So that's why I'm going to choose outside. That looks like a good radius. I'll validate that. Now I'm going to come back to my pages, and I'm just going to scale it up. Let me switch to wireframe, kind of a lit wireframe skeleton X-ray view. And even if, while I'm doing this, if I bring my pages up so that they cut into the top of the binding, that's really okay. It's not going to matter, just as long as there's no space between the pages and the binder. And I'm going to move my pages over. There we are. Let me just check the distance between the top and the bottom, and looks like the front of the pages here could come out a little bit so that everything is even. There we are. That looks good. Okay, let me save this. Okay, first thing I want to do is my pages are done. I'll hide and lock those. I'm going to select the edges of my binder here. Select those edges. I'm going to hold down Shift and select the corners as well, so that this is the selection I have. I'm going to come over here, Vertex Modeling, click on my Edge Tools. I'm going to select this middle one here, and I'm just going to drag it over here towards the end. That looks good. Now I'm going to come back over, and with this selection of edges, I'm going to select this first one here, and I think I want to extract around. And like I've said before in several of my tutorials, it never seems to work for me the first time out. I got to do it twice. There we are. Okay, now I'm just going to extract around them a nice little radius like that. There we are. Not radius, distance. Okay, now with select edges, I'm going to select these edges. I'm going to select these edges and these edges. I'm going to loop this. Now, believe it or not, creating this book cover caused a great deal of frustration with me today while I was thinking up this tutorial. I could not seem to figure out how to get this thing to add a bevel or a chamfer on this and have it look good. But I finally figured it out, so I'll show you what I did wrong many times, and then I'll show you what I did right. So with the edges selected that I want to add a bevel to, I'm just going to hit my chamfer tool, and I'm just going to dial in a nice little bevel. I'm going to validate, and I'm going to click off of it. And this is what caused me a great deal of frustration. If you look at the corners here, they really look poor. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just they just look cheesy. And trying to get them looking decent took me a great deal of time before I figured it out. So I'm going to undo that bevel, and I'll show you what I found to work beautifully. I'm going to select that edge, and I'm going to select that edge. I'm going to hit my backspace key and remove them. I'm not going to hit delete, but I'm going to hit backspace. I'm going to remove that one and remove that one. Now I will go and select my edges, loop it, and I also want to get these corners there as well. And get those corners, select those edges, and loop that. Now I'm going to select that edge and that edge. Now keep your eye right here while I add a bevel to it, and you'll notice the big difference that it now makes. Look at it, it adds a nice bevel to that corner now where it did not do it before. Big difference, just eliminating those edges there. And the corners here look nice and rounded. Let's look at our pages. And we've got a good looking book. Well, we're not done yet. We're not done yet. What I want to do is select that edge. I'm going to enable my soft selection. I want a very small selection here, and not even that much. Let's try 0.5. No, let's try 0.7. There we are. That's just about the amount that I want. Let me bump it up to 8. And with that selected, I'm just going to bring it down just a little bit. Doesn't need to be much. And that might even be a little too much. And I'm going to select this middle one, and I'm going to bring it up. And just that one little detail, look at the difference of it look at it in different lighting conditions. Just that one little detail adds so much more realism to this book, because you know real books have that little crease in there. There we are. That's much better lighting. It looks much nicer. Okay, I'm happy with that. Save my progress on this. Now I can go ahead and name my cover. And now we are ready to start UV mapping this. So I'm going to select the pages. We'll do that first. And click on UV and Paint. I'm going to come down here and switch to a split screen. And I'll apply a cubic projection to this. And if you don't know what I'm doing here, or this seems foreign to you, you may want to look at some of the other tutorials I've done on UV mapping. Let's see what happens if I'm not even going to worry about this. I'm not even going to worry about it, on how the texture is being applied to the pages. Not even going to worry about it. And it seems kind of odd that I would do that. But the reason is very simple. Because of the texture that we're going to apply to it, it really doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is select all of these bottom ones. I'm going to move them over. Select all of these. Move them over. Because now I need to find out where these things are lined up in relationship to one another. So I'm going to select that one. Okay. Okay, I'm going to, with that point selected and that point selected, you see that there are, in this view, there are 3 of them that are selected, but I only selected 2. That's because this point here is really tied to this one here. In other words, let me come to my pen tool. This face is connected to this one, and let me spin around over here. This one is connected to this one, and they're connected at their points. So when I selected the point, I'm essentially selecting the point for this face right here and for that face right there. That's why it displays 2 of them. And I just want to make sure that none of these are flipped upside down, which the last time I did this model earlier today, one of them was flipped upside down and I had to reverse it. Why it's not that way now is beyond me. So I want to lay these out so that they are all flush with each other, so that, well, you'll see when we go to texture it. Now this one has to come over here. I'm going to come to a single pane view. There we are. And I will select these and drag them over. Okay, let's come back to a dual pane view. Select all of these, and where's my texture map? I guess I should enable it, my texture. There it is. And let's put this back over here where it belongs. I'll scale it down a little bit so that nothing overlaps my texture. Okay, we are done with our pages. Let's come to our book cover now. And I'm going to apply a cubic projection to it. Now this one I do want to be very careful in aligning the scale of my texture. That looks good. And now don't only watch here on how the texture is being applied to the 3D object, but look over here in what is happening and what Hexagon is doing to our UV map as I am scaling these up and down. There we are. Because it's scaling the UV map, not just the texture. It's not even touching the texture. It's just scaling the UV map. Now I will bring it down. There we are. Come back to a split screen. Now we have these large covers here. There's actually 4 of them. There's one on the top. There's one on the top of the inside. There's one on the bottom of the top of the bottom and the bottom of the bottom. I really don't care about these right now, so I'm going to select them, and I'm just going to move them out of the way. I'm going to hide my texture. Now I'm only concerned with this and the binding that is attached to it. So I want to select all of these. There we are. Okay, what I need to do is I need to select the binding here, making sure nothing else is selected. Now I've got something selected here. Oh, darn it. Okay. I'm going to undo this. Click on that to unselect it. There we are. Now I have, good, just the binding. I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. Now this binding here is the ones I've just selected. That's the edges here and the inside of the binding. I'm not worried about that because this book is not going to open or anything like that, so I'm just going to move it up here out of the way. What I need to do now is essentially stitch this together so that it meets, so it all is well, stitched together. Okay, I want to apply a color to this. I don't want my, well, I'll just do a texture image. I'm What's that one? Oh no, that is a texture map. I don't want that. Okay, that'll work. Okay, we do need to do some repair work here in the way that this it has laid the UV maps out. So what I want to do is I need to drag these over. Whoops. I got to get just that one. Let me use my arrow for this. It's very weird how it laid these out. Now they are all laid out very well. So I will select these and just bring them down. Let's see how it looks down here. Oh, that's fine. Okay, now I need to grab my book cover and bring it over. Okay, let me zoom in here and see how it looks. You can tell the lines, let me switch to edge. You can tell the lines are all even, and that's good. I'm going to change textures because I think I may need to, over here on the UV side, stretch these to be a little longer because we're going to have some compression issues. I don't want that. To let this load. Okay, yeah. So you see how it's stretched here. It doesn't look the same as that. So we're going to cover that in a second tutorial, and we will be doing some more work on this. So here at Geekatplay Studios, my name's Gary Miller. Have a good day.